And then, do we talk about this bit? Enemy stats optimization. This is like a whole separate thing. This will either, maybe I'll put this as a separate little yap video or keep it in the other one. To improve the administrator's exploration experience, we have lowered enemy levels at various exploration levels, including exploration level 6, exploration level 7. So this is essentially, this is a sort of second enemy like tankiness adjustment so far. At exploration level 6, enemy level is reduced from 60 to 55. They drop the same loot. Enemy level from exploration level 7, enemy level is reduced from 70 to 60, which is a pretty big adjustment. There's 10 entire levels. And they drop the same loot. And then this we already went for over like the other bits here. So this 800 pulls. So I think this is 60 to 55 is like, yeah, that's fine. That's good. I don't mind that. 70 to 60 is a pretty big change. I don't think they necessarily need to. I feel like this could have also been like a 5-level change instead of a full 10. I don't think this is really like a huge issue, but however, I have seen multiple people like actually kind of getting a little lost in the sauce and like really truly seeing this as like, oh my god, they're nerfing everything and making the game too easy. Which I'm like, sort of, I don't really get. Because this is effectively, what this is nerfing effectively, is like the random basic mobs you see as you're exploring. It's nerfing those. And depending on like how invested your team is and what level you've leveled to, sometimes they were a bit sort of, some of them were surprisingly tanky. Like, especially some of the elites were surprisingly tanky and you're just kind of wailing on them for a while. Most of the, like, the truly, like, actual smaller fodder enemies, like the small enemies and the small angle and stuff, those are already quite weak. They're going to be very squishy now, I feel. Like, sort of at those, well, because they didn't, it's just adjusting the levels. They haven't actually adjusted the HP, it's just that the levels are lower, so the HP are lower. Some of the enemies, I think, were indeed pretty tanky. Some of the elites, some of the flamethrower guys, some of the axe guys, and stuff like that were pretty tanky, I feel. And the main thing is, this adjustment is for the casual players. This adjustment is not considering motherfuckers like us who are at the end of progression in some way, and we have, like, teams of level 80s or teams of level 70s or even just like teams of 60s with like good weapons and good gear and like fully using rotations and stuff. Though honestly, if you're fighting level 60s with 70s, you do feel the enemy, like the level difference, even if you have like good gear and weapons. You do feel them. But yeah, for like properly invested teams, yeah, stuff's probably going to be fairly squishy now. But this adjustment is for the casuals. And also, I would like to point out that we are 2 weeks into a live service game that currently does not have an end game, and the world level, the exploration level that we currently have, the max 7 exploration level, is not going to be the last level that we end at. We are not at the cap. We are essentially everything in the game right now, everything in the game, all the content in the game right now, especially before some of the events that we're gonna have, which will probably be harder. All the other content in the game is currently pre-end game content. It is essentially content and exploration levels, which in the end will just be a short part of your progression towards endgame. You are not going to be sitting at this level of overworld enemies forever. Most likely, we're gonna have a couple more levels of exploration level. And like at max, probably like max exploration level, is gonna have the base level of enemies be like 80 or 80 plus. They could go, but considering our max level is 90 for operators, they can go as high as level 90 completely fine. If the assumption for like max level, world level or whatever, is going to be that you have like a full team of 90s or 80s or whatever. Level 7 is simply one short part of progression in the long term. Right now, it's our max. Right? Okay, right now it's our max. But that's because progression is not finished. Even the basic progression of just like levels, essentially, is not finished. And also, even still then in exploration, right? The maps have enemies that are fixed levels. There are enemies who do not scale with your exploration level. They are at a fixed level that sort of matches the map they're in. So Wuling, for example, has enemies that are always at level 70. I think it's level 70. I think that's the highest I've seen. Maybe there's even an 80 somewhere out there. You have enemies that are like always at that level. It also means that in earlier maps you have enemies that are always at level 30 or something, because that's like when you normally get to the map. So like, they're also, not all enemies are gonna be that. And kind of, when you think of the fact that this adjustment is for the casuals, it is for the casual players, who are probably your most, frankly, in a game like this, your casuals are kind of one of your extremely important player bases. They're a big part of your player base, and they want a fairly chill time when you're just running around and doing some exploration and getting some chests. Unless, and then if it's a specific little area, which has like, oh, it has a little combat challenge to get 3 chests or something, that will usually then have an elite enemy in it who is a stuck level. They don't have a level that adjusts with the map. They're just always that specific level. Because those should be untouched. If they're not untouched, then that's maybe not great. That's not great if those are untouched. But this seemingly is just like the average level. The non-fixed, the enemies that actually scale with exploration level are not the ones that have always had fixed. Like you can go to Wuling with level 50. Like you can go to Wuling when you're like level 50 or whatever. With your characters. Or like level 40 even. And you will run into like some slugs guarding a chest that are level 70. Because they're just fixed at level 70 always. So yeah. And indeed, it's for the casuals, yes. This change is not for the endgame gamers. The endgame gamers can go and, for example, beat up like level 90 Radahn over and over again, which is what a lot of people do. You have the bosses, you have the harder difficulty, higher level farming maps to do if you want to get some like higher end fights. At least right now when we don't, for example, have Umbral Monument yet, which is going to be a combat event and will have much higher scaled enemies. We're chill, we're fine. I do think 70 to 60 is a big change. I think 65 would have been a better change rather than 70 to 60. That's a big jump. But overall, I think the change is fine. It really, truly will not matter in the long term. This is not nerfing endgame content because there is no endgame content in the game right now, especially when it comes to like exploration. It's fine. The world is not over. The game is not being nerfed to the ground to make it easy for the babies, if that's the problem. So, I think we're chill. I think we're chill. Is that enough yapping on that? Wooling delivery refresh is real endgame. That's true. For those who know, they know that the real endgame is refreshing for wooling deliveries. So, you know.